everybody. Welcome. It's a regularly scheduled meeting of the City Council. The agenda's are back on the wall. The paperwork on the bulletin board. First order of business is a period of community notes. So if anybody has anything you want to say about something that's not on the agenda, feel free to come up and say it. You have 3 minutes. If not yet. If it's on the agenda, then you wait until it's an agenda item, and council will ask questions, stuff, blah, blah, blah. You can talk, and then council can talk again if they want to vote. Okay.
Community notes, or anyone else has?
Do the flag? You want to do the flag first?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Let's start. Well, let's do that and have it as part of it. Can we not do that?
Let's do it.
Okay, and then we'll just go into the thing.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On the public hearing, this is a required part of the city's possible action on the property that you see up on the screen, which is 26 Gold Street. It's a property that's been in terrible shape for quite a long time. The city's made repeated attempts to contact the owner. The owners, there have been a string of different owners in the last year, and not seeing any relief of contacting the owners. We're here to ask the council to take action to authorize the city, if nothing happens with that building, within a certain period of time, to go in and have it removed and then bill the owners. And so I'd like to ask Bill Lee, our city attorney, to take it from here in terms of what the process is. And of course, Garth will talk about the conditions.
Good evening. First of all, I believe all councilors have a copy of exhibits which are marked cities 1, 2, and 3. And the first one is the deed to the property. As you can see, it's presently owned by American Homeowners Preservation, LLC. There have been some reporting in the paper that it was owned by Lakeside Properties. If you look at that deed, you can see that Lakeside deeded the property to American Home Preservation in the middle of May. The second exhibit is a notice of hearing. It was recorded in the Registry of Deeds back on September 3rd or 4th, which puts the world on notice that, in fact, this hearing will take place tonight. And so if anyone were to purchase that property between, or after that had been recorded, they would take that property subject to it. I heard yesterday that this property was almost ready to change hands again, but apparently it did not take place because, in fact, this notice of hearing had been recorded. The third exhibit that you have before you is Service Upon American Homeowner Preservation, LLC, which is based out of Illinois, and that took place on September 19th. Subsequent to that date, I did receive a call from American Homeowners indicating that they were hoping to be able to sell the property, but if that was going to be a problem, they did not intend to send someone here because I think they only had a contract price for $6,500, and they said something to the effect it wasn't worth it. But that was just what was represented to me over the phone. I actually have a question whether there is someone here from American Homeowners Preservation present. And we are conducting this as a hearing which ultimately could produce the demolition of this building. So for the record, I'd like to state that no one has responded to the request to identify themselves as being a representative of American Homeowners LLC. What we're going to do now is have Code Enforcement Officer Garth Brooks answer a few questions that I have for him. Collins, excuse me. Don't sing it. Yeah, he's going to sing his way through a series of photos. Garth Collins. And we'll take you through photos that he took recently of the building. And any counselors who have questions during this process, you don't have to wait till the end of the photos. You can ask those questions at any time. And then when he is done, if there are no further questions of him, the hearing would then be open to any members of the public who might wish to address this particular issue. And at the conclusion of any further comments or questions, the matter is then before you. You have a proposed resolution. That is just to give you language to start from. I'm not at all suggesting by the language of that resolution that you have to agree to it. You can modify it, you can change it in any way you feel fit based on the evidence you have before you. Procedurally, the way this will work is that if the council votes to order the demolition of that building within a particular period of time, and what was stated in the resolution was 30 days, then at the end of that 30 days, if it has not happened, as you can see further on in that council resolution, the city will take the building down, and ultimately we will be billing the owner of the property for those costs, which includes demolition, removal, filling the cellar hole, legal fees, title searches, etc. Whatever the total package is will ultimately be billed to the owner and would be collected in the same manner as real estate taxes.
Bill, does the lot become property of the city at that point?
It would only become property of the city at the point in time where the cost had not been paid and the period of time that would have produced an automatic foreclosure for real estate taxes would have passed. So it can take almost 2 years.
Is there a lien on the property by the city at the present time?
I couldn't tell you whether there's a real property tax lien.
I don't think so.
I don't think there was. At least there wasn't back 6 weeks ago.
But the cost of demolition will be used as a lien.
Yes,
But
yes.
the critical thing is that that lien will take 18 months to mature, correct? If it's
Yes.
a traditional tax lien,
It would take 18 months, and then there's a notice of impending foreclosure that would be sent out. Just treat it just the way it would be if it were a real estate tax.
real estate tax.
So Bill, there's no issue of notice, right, to American homeowners? They clearly have.
You have Exhibit 3, that was personal service on September 19th. And I was contacted by American homeowners,
Okay, an officer from that
Yes.
company?
an employee, who said that they had been hoping to sell it to someone else, and would we consider that? And I said, well, there's a hearing before the council, as you know, and he said, yes, he understood that. And I said, it's up to the council to decide what the disposition of the property is. It wasn't for me to start negotiating something. That, of course, would not be appropriate under those circumstances. So, if there are no other questions right now, I would like to ask Mr. Collins if you would like to go over the slides. And I have just a few questions for you before you start showing them. You can just have a seat. This is for, or you can stand if you wish. If you could briefly describe to the council, Mr. Collins, what involvement you've had with this property as code enforcement officer during the last several years.
Yes, familiar with this property, dates back to 2002. Cormier's owned it. It was a trash hole to begin with. We were on them all the time for property maintenance issues. A year later, they sold the property to fellows out of Massachusetts. I dealt with those people for 2 or 3 years. Same thing, property maintenance issues, fixed the building up. They ended up going through foreclosure, and then these banks started buying it. And how about the process that they go by? Bought dozens of properties and then put them up for sale. As we reached each company, HSB Bank sent them letters explaining to them that they've got to maintain this property, clean the yards up, fix it up. If they're going to put people in it, it has to be brought up to code. Never received any information back from them. These people ignored us completely. Once we tried to take legal action against them, they sold the property to another bank. It's repeated several times. Six people have had this property since I've been involved with it. In 2010, when the Knights first owned it, we closed it down because it was just uninhabitable for human habitation. It stayed empty until 2011 when a company called Mom Pop Hagen, they bought this property, and they sold it to a rent option to buy to a couple who had no skills, no money, no nothing, and they moved into it. Neighbors called me and said somebody was living in the house. We went down and explained to them that You can't live in this place. There's no heating system, nothing's the code. It's horrible. They insisted they were gonna fix it up and they were gonna stay and all this stuff. Looking at the legalities of it, if you do own the property and you're living in there, it's hard for somebody to say, get out. If you were renting it, then that's a different story. But if you're living in it, you wanna live in that condition and fix it up, we give you the time to do so. Well, they had no skills, no money. Within a year, they were out. We closed it down again in 2013. There were squatters living in there, kicked them out. And so we closed it since. This past June, somebody went inside and started it on fire. And the fire department closed it all up. The building itself is just terrible. This is the front of it.
God, if I can ask you just a clarification. You took a series of photos here?
Excuse me?
You took a series of photos that you're going to show us?
Yes.
And when did you take those photos?
I took those photos last week.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah. This is in front of the building. As you can see, the vegetation stuff is going around. If you look hard enough, you'll see the windows have been smashed out and vandalized since it's been closed up. This is the east side of the property. Those are the decks. Those decks are purely rotten. I wouldn't step on those for anybody. There's boards on here that are just rotten. You can take a pencil and just push it right through the sides there with it. Where the floor joists come together. They were ordered to tear that down and fix it. They never did. You can see there's some mattresses and some debris and stuff on the bottom floor, but they just left. Inside it's horrible conditions. There was food left in there. It was bed bug infested. I went up to it last week and the stench coming from it was just enough that I wasn't going to go in. There's another side, the east side, bottom section, smoke couches and stuff laying out there. You can see where the vinyl side is puckering. This building's sunk on this side. If you go up on the second floor and third floor, the floors are 12 inches out of level. They go just like that. Another picture of the decks. Same again. More rock. This is a roof area. There's holes that are already starting to develop. This whole section of that roof has been wet for a period of time. The shingles are rotting, blow off. It would have to be, if anybody wanted to do anything with that roof, it would have to be stripped down and be done over again completely. It's just, it would never hold shingles. It's so rotten. And that's the west side of the building. Again, the yard has never been kept up. Windows smashed out. Electrical services over the side of it ripped out. There's no heating system. The plumbing system is completely gone. And all the wiring's been stripped out of that building by vandals. And that's what I got.
Garth, I do have one more question for you. Do you believe that the property is deteriorated so much that repair of it is impracticable?
Yes, it is. You know, when you look at a building like that, could it be saved? Yeah. Do you have $100,000 you want to put in a building that's assessed at $49,000? No. It doesn't make any sense at all to put any money into this. I've talked to a lot of people since the last people have had American homeowners, and they've been trying to sell this for $7,500. And people call me from all over Massachusetts because I just want to buy this. You just give them the facts, tell them what it is, and they walk right away from that. So, I had one guy yesterday from Massachusetts insisted he was going to buy this property and live in it. I said, that's not going to happen. And I explained to him all the details, the cost factors and everything involved in it. And I said, you know, if you did buy it and wanted to do it, you're going to be able to prove that you financially can do it, that you have the skills to do it, and we put a timeline on it. And he backed out of the deal, said, I can't do that. So that's kind of history we have with this thing. And it is, it's light on the neighborhood. It's been a problem for all the neighbors down there. And like I said, we've been dealing with this since 2002, so it's time.
Garth, what was the building originally, do you know? What was the building originally? Was it a multi-apartment building or single family?
Three-family.
It's always been a three-family house?
Yeah.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Garth for all the work he's put into this. He has done an amazing job with the research and contacting the people involved with this. And the neighborhood has wanted this torn down for quite some time. I'm surprised it hasn't been burned down at this point.
gonna continue to be a health hazard for the neighborhood and a danger. If somebody gets up in there and crawls around, those decks could fall off there. Big snowstorm will take them down. Kids get up there running around, somebody's gonna get hurt. Somebody's gonna be liable for that. And I know these people who pull the title on it, you're not gonna see them again, so.
And a lot of people walk on that side of the street and know there's no sidewalks, so it's easy, I mean, the house stands right on the street, there's the street, there's the house. And there's a lot of children in that neighborhood, so absolutely this is going on.
What's the approximate cost of demolition?
We're looking between $8,000 and $10,000.
And after it's demolished, and we sell it as a vacant lot, what's the likely price on a vacant lot?
Well, about 16,000 plus square feet over there. It's kind of an odd shaped lot. The only value I can see would be to abutters. Anybody who wanted to buy it to add to there, because you've got 3 other properties that circle around this place, so. But could it be sold? Yeah.
So we may not even recoup the cost of demolition.
But we're building the bank.
Why can't we build a bank? I thought that's what we did.
Well, we are, but if they don't pay, then they forfeit the property.
We foreclose and we get the property.
People complain about forfeit. You know, banks are getting away with murder in this town. They've done it to a number of residences, and it's really disgusting.
Yeah, I'd like to agree. I get emails about this property, about kids playing on the porch area, in the yard area, and people, I'm sure they're probably writing both of us about getting this property torn down. So I think it's just a safety hazard is what it seems like, and I definitely believe that we've done an amazing amount of work to get to this point. I would hate for it to prolong anymore.
And no matter what, like this property on Gold Street that we sold, and this house was torn down, there's a basketball hoop there now. Kids are off the street to play basketball. When this house gone, the same thing's gonna happen. They're gonna have to place these kids to play. They're not gonna be playing on Gold Street. They're gonna be playing in a grassy yard or city property, however you want to say it. So it's a win-win for everybody in the neighborhood.
Anybody in the audience have questions or comments? Yes?
Hi, I'm Heather Merrill, and I live in the neighborhood, not in close vicinity of this house, but I co-chair the South End Neighborhood Association, and we support the demolition of this building. So, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, so the hearing is closed. Thank you, guys. Disappointed you won't be singing for us, sir.
Maybe next time.
Okay, so, we got a proclamation on clean air. the more than 22,400 named children and 104,300 adults with asthma and other lung diseases who may require expensive medical care on unhealthy air days. And whereas the American Lung Association estimates that almost half of the people in Maine live in counties with fair to poor quality air. And whereas for more than 4 decades, the Clean Air Act has protected public health by reducing levels of smog, soot, and other air pollutants. And whereas nationally, the Clean Air Act has prevented an estimated 160,000 premature deaths, more than 130,000 heart attacks, and over 1.7 million asthma attacks in 2010 alone. And whereas we don't have to choose between improving public health and helping our economy innovate and grow, as evidenced by data from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, showing that the Clean Air Act has produced economic benefits valued at 30 times the cost of regulation. And whereas the Clean Air Act is a Maine tradition, having been established and subsequently updated and improved under the leadership of Senators Muskie, Mitchell, and Cohen. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Karen Heck, on behalf of the City Council and the people of Waterville, do hereby proclaim our support for our nation's Clean Air Act and our shared commitment to ensuring healthy air for all citizens. In witness whereof, I do hereby set my hand and seal this 7th day of October, 2014.
The American Lung Association, and we support this proclamation and are really happy to have the support of the mayor and council and the city of Waterville. And also thank you to Healthy Mothers Kennebec for coming, and you guys are welcome to say something.
My name's Fran Mullen. I'm the director of Healthy Northern Kennebec, which is a public health program here in the Waterville area. And I just want to say thank you all, mayor and council, for supporting clean air, because clean air is one of the fundamental things that we need to be having.
And I'm Jennifer Olson. I'm the executive director of Waterville Main Street, and I serve on the active community environment team. And so that's how I came to be part of this and the Healthy Northern Kennebec Community Coalition. So that's why I'm here to stand up. And thank you.
Well, while one of our mayors, Senator Muskie, was the mayor of Waterville, and George Mitchell was a resident of Waterville, we're happy then. William Cohen was our senator. It's great that we're able to do this.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks, Jen.
Okay, community notes. Anybody have community notes? Hey.
Could I say
Yes, you may. Yes, I was actually thinking of you when we were reading this.
I'm very glad to see this problem, because I can have issues with unhealthy air in my neighborhood and at my house. And I've been getting all kinds of arguments and flack from the city, and I've heard that all the other cities are doing the same thing. They're not enforcing the intent of the Clean Air Act. And it was explained to me by the EPA and the DEP that it's the city's responsibility for ensuring that air is clean and healthy in the local cities. The states can't go around every city and put monitors in every neighborhood, and even every city. And the EPA, with the headquarters down in Washington, certainly can't do it. And the city has all kinds of property maintenance codes that says excessive particulates are against code, and noxious or unhealthy odors from toxic gases are against code. But when you try to get code enforced, nothing happens. The police officers say wood burning that creates violations of the Clean Air Act at houses is legal, period. The police chief says the same thing, period. And when you try to bring out city code and show it to him, he says, I'm not a lawyer. I just do
what the city manager tells me. I'm waiting to talk to the city manager. I used to think it was all his fault, now I think it's different. I think he's being directed by the council to not enforce the code to save money. But when I looked up the health costs to the victims, I found that burners are saving about $2,000 a year on their heating costs. It's very real, and sometimes they can get the wood for free. But there's a health cost to the victims, like my daughter who had asthma, and another person who had a heart attack, and it's $2,000 to $3,000 per burner per year. So the cost to the victims outweigh the benefits to the burners. And all the Sustain Mid-Maine Coalition is focused on, like a laser, is the costs. And it's absolutely true. When you burn wood, you can save a lot of money. And there are economic multipliers. They would be there, except for the cost to the victims. And the economic multipliers apply there as well. And there's a matter of law that applies here as well. And it's really derived from the Constitution. The Constitution has one sentence in it that references English common law, and that's basically our base law. They didn't have the room or the time to put in all of the English common law into the Constitution. But when you research the Constitution, and lawyers who have researched this wood smoke issue, they say safety is the supreme law. And life and health take priority over money and economics, always. But it's not happening here in Waterville and anywhere else, and because of that, there are photographs of whole cities and regions that are just covered and engulfed in air pollution haze. And when you can really get a good photograph of it, you see it's all wood smoke plumes. And it's not under control, and it should be.
Yes, you're right. I don't disagree with anything you had to say. What I would say is I don't believe the council is actually directing the city manager not to do that, but I would say that there is no money in the budget to do that. So when budget time comes, if people think that it's an issue that they want addressed, they should be here to talk about that. While I applaud your passion around this issue, I think that the point of this month, and I would encourage you to write a letter to the editor, is to bring people's awareness to this issue, to try and get people to stop doing their wood stoves, to try and go to cleaner air. But that is the point of this month, to try and bring attention to the kinds of things that are important to do. And what you just did is one of the things that's important to do.
Well, you're talking about me doing your job
No,
and
I'm
educating the
talking about,
people and trying to organize them to come here. And that's very hard for somebody like me to do.
but that's the way the system works.
But according to the law, you have to, if somebody believes there's a problem, then you have to go, this is the HHS Essential Services Code. You have to investigate it. Then you have to research it with innovative means like what I did with the EPA doing modeling for old stoves. Then if it's found to be true, and the EPA says it's true, the Clean Air Act is being violated all the time, 30% of houses, then it has to be stopped. And then it has to be prevented, but none of that is going on, not even the first step.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you're bringing this to our attention, but we're not going to solve it tonight. And I know that the legislature actually studied the bill last time, and it should continue to study the bill to not allow wood smoke, or to encourage financially incentives to install clean burning wood stoves. And all I'm saying to you is that is the battle that you need to continue to fight.
Why aren't you enforcing the law?
Because there's no money to do it. That's why.
That's not an excuse.
Well, it is in this.
Raise taxes to do your job. Or do something creative. Do something creative and solve the problem in another way.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, because you now have had your 3 minutes.
Willful negligence is a crime according to the federal code.
Yes.
Not enforcing the law is a crime according to the federal code. And it's a big issue in my neighborhood because my daughter had an asthma attack, a neighbor had a heart attack, and it can kill people.
I don't disagree with what you're saying,
Yes, I do. You say you're not going to enforce the law.
but it's not disagreeing with what you're saying.
Yes, I'm asking you to enforce the law. You say, no, I won't.
I'm not disagreeing with the effects that you're talking about. So, any other comments on public notes?
I have a,
Oh, sorry.
it's okay, mine's on a different note. Waterville has 2 more games left in football. They're 5-0. We do play a day this Saturday, which is the last home game. So that's just a good note.
Thank you.
We'll unfortunately 5-1 game. That's in 2 weeks though, John. I'm sure you're gonna be looking for a good way.
Hi.
Hey, Heather.
Hi, I have a question. And I've contacted my counselor, I've contacted my FOIA, I've contacted, and got a return call from Mark Turner, so I'm just letting everybody else know. This recycling business.
Yeah.
21, now I don't have an issue with recycling, because if I did, I wouldn't be standing here today. 21 days is a long time to go up without recycling. Because I went from September 19th, and it doesn't come again until Friday. And it doesn't happen too many times a year, but it's gonna happen again in December, and 2 of those holidays are Christmas and New Year's.
Happens in November too.
And 21 days is just a long time.
Heather, it's not garbage, it's paper.
It's still crap around the house. If my trash sat there for 21 days, God could be there. It's still trash. Whether it's recyclables, whether it's clean or dirty, it's trash.
What's the chance of doing it every year?
Well,
They do everything.
I do want to remind people that the recycling center on the Army Road is opening now. So you can bring your stuff there any day of the week, Monday through Friday.
But Mike,
No Saturdays.
transportation, you can't bring it there. You don't have transportation.
People have been bringing it there for years.
I know, but those are the people who have vehicles.
I've got transportation, I've never been there.
We've signed a contract where the pickup is twice a month, so
And I
that's what
was
we're
going
gonna
to
have
have
to do.
it.
And there are 4 months where it goes 3 weeks.
Heather, I do agree with you, 21 days is way too long, and you can call it recyclable, but,
It's still trash. It's stuff that I don't need, it's trash.
so absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Ron Carter, Ward 6. Actually, kind of speaking about the recycling that was out there, a lot of people obviously weren't informed about the date that was being, not every other week, but 2 months a month. And I saw that there was a lot of trash that was around the city. Walking around Ward 6, trash was around and was accumulating, and I've seen signs be illegal dumping. Dumpsters that people complain to me about. Also in public waste bins, people end up putting their trash in that, and it's just been set aside, and some of it's been getting out and around. And also in public and private properties. One resident complained on Burley Street that their dumpsters are always full and getting jam-packed. They didn't used to actually get full all the time, now it is. Numerous residents have said the same thing. And there's also been another resident that complained out back of her house on Burley Street, these are single examples, that her backyard is starting to get a bunch of trash in the forest area that people are dumping the bags.
Bags of trash, really? Bags?
Bags of trash and then individual, yeah, they put them individual, like popping bags.
Ron, you don't support page and go, do you?
I'm not talking about pigs and trucks, I'm talking about the garbage that's around the city. But
You don't support page and go, do you?
I don't support the $2 trash bags, that's correct. Some renters have also mentioned that their $2 trash bags that they paid for have been excluded because the other renter next door has put the unpaid trash bag near it or next to it, or maybe on top of it, so they're not getting their trash removed. That's also contributing to some of the trash that's sitting around the town. So my question comes into being, is there a plan to resolve these problems being faced by these residents that have these concerns, and at what level of accumulation of the trash would the council consider this to be a public safety hazard, and does the city have a plan for the removal of this trash?
I think it's very good that you bring attention to these issues, and I think that we will be talking about it. As you know, it's only a recently instituted program. which you have not been supportive of from day one. So,
Against the
maybe
$2 trash bag fee.
perhaps, what you might want to do is contribute to the discussion about how we can make this work. Because honestly, if you're running for council, which I think you are, since I've
All
seen
right, if
signs.
you're gonna be demeaning, that's fine. I was talking about what we do about the
I
trash.
listen to you, I'm not being demeaning. What I'm
Yes, you
saying
are.
is, if you're going to
Because
be a
what are we doing
counselor,
about the trash?
if you are going to be a counselor, then you need to think about how you can move the city ahead. Not just
That sounds like
complain
you're
about
attacking me.
what the city is doing. Be a part of
I'm not
be
complaining
a
about what the
part
city's
of the
doing. I'm
solution.
asking what the city council
Yes.
that's in state now is gonna do about the
Would you
garbage.
stop? I understand.
Why are you yelling?
Because you are irritating. You are on here you are on people's Facebook pages with the kinds of things that are not true.
Could you use specific examples?
Yes, I could, but I'm not going to tonight.
Okay, well, if you can't use specific examples,
Yes.
can I at least hear from the council, Mary Winslow?
Can I ask everyone to just wait till we take up the manager's report, because looking at the manager's report, the first item is to listen to an update and the amount of trash and recycling and so forth that keeps going up, and is being picked up, and we can address your.
Actually, I wanted to do it
Thank
now.
you.
Do you want to do it now?
Thank you for that. And yes, Mike is going to do it during the community notes because there are so many people here. And I appreciate your
Okay,
suggestion.
I'm very, go ahead.
I apologize.
Yes.
This wasn't brought up to me as me complaining. These are residents that voiced their concerns to me, and I was voicing them to you. So I understand your thoughts and thinking. Oh, you.
Yeah, so when you get those kind of complaints, send them our way, because I mean, we're the ones that gotta go out and pick things up, or straighten things out, so it's either Mark Turner, Mark is not here.
And I have told all these residents to
Yeah.
contact their city councilor.
Yeah. If
and
people are using dumpsters illegally, or leaving stuff where it shouldn't be.
I think a lot of people feel like they're helpless because, people don't put their mail in it, and, obviously they're smart enough not to make sure someone catches them. But, I appreciate that there's gonna be some effort to.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we don't want stuff lying around.
Right, and I want to do that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor.
So, continuing along the discussion about pay-as-you-throw and recycling, I wanted to let people know, because there's been a lot of discussion, and I think some misinformation about the pay-as-you-throw so far. We've been 4 weeks into it, exactly 4 weeks. This was the start of our 5th week yesterday. So, in the 4 weeks with pay-as-you-throw, the purple garbage bag thing, our tonnage has gone down by a total of 193 tons in the first 4 weeks. That's 48 tons a week less, or just a little under 10 tons a day less that we're picking up every single day. So last year at this time, we picked up 18 tons. This day last year, for instance, we picked up 18 tons. Today, 8. Yesterday, 17 tons. Last year, 7. It's about 10 tons per day less every single day with pay-as-you-throw. On recycling, we've had 5 weeks of recycling, because we only do it 2 times a month. We started in the middle of July. The first week in July, we had 13 tons. The 2 weeks in August, the average for recycling pickup curbside was 18.6. And the 2 weeks in September were 23 tons. So we've gone from 13 to 18 to 23, and Mark Turner told me yesterday that we picked up almost 8 tons yesterday in recyclables. So it averages out, we think, in this week for recycling, close to 30 tons is what we expect. So it's been quite an increase from 13 to 18 to 22, and we think for this week around 30.
So,
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, have you got any idea about the trash that hasn't just been left out as far as what's not included with that tonnage?
Yeah, I mean, we're still trying to figure out where the 10 ton per day is.
No.
Where's that gone? I think there's a number of things. I think recycling obviously is one big factor. I think there was trash coming in from out of town that people are no longer bringing it. Obviously, there are people putting some of their trash in places where it's not supposed to be, either a dumpster. But we haven't had a lot of calls on that. The fourth thing, though, which is pretty significant too, I think, is that people have contracted out for their trash pickup. Instead of buying bags, they've called the hauler and said, how much will you charge me to come every week to pick up my
I
trash?
guess one of my concerns was that so many people are going to these private haulers. I thought we were really trying to promote recycling, which is what the point is, and I think recycling is a great thing, but the trash bags.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm
my opinion on that.
Right. I'm hoping the ones that use the private hauler also recycle.
That would be good. You would hope they would, yes.
Any questions?
I would just like, the concerns that, Devon Carter brought up, that, I've been knocking on doors throughout the community and have had 0 complaints at doors, and I've received, in the last month, 2 phone calls with questions. Not one time have I gotten a phone call, with these types of concerns. As Parks and Rec, committee, we discussed in our last meeting that there hasn't been an increase in trash in the parks, that there hasn't been normally. We've seen pretty much the same steady amount of trash, in the community. And residents in the South End, which was heavily discussed about moving to this program, it's about the same there as well, that we have not seen this enormous amount of change in our community. If you agree with recycling, this is how we're able to afford curbside recycling, just to pay for it. So I would tell you to give out my number, give out my email address if they have concerns, because that's the way that I can relate those concerns to the rest of the council and the committee who actually works in the system.
Well, with all due respect, ma'am, I've had people that have contacted you and you haven't answered their questions.
That is not true. That is absolutely false.
And it is false. I mean, I've had people that I've spoken to
All right.
and the word that had said.
Thank you.
I think the call should come to the city.
So,
We're the ones that can fix it.
Absolutely, the
well,
call
I
should
have
come
been
to the
knocking on
city.
the doors and they did say have complaints. If
Okay,
you'd like
thanks so
some of the
much.
names, I'd be glad to give them to you, Dana. Thank you.
If you have a call, I'm sure.
You're welcome to call me for the information.
I have a question for Mike, though, about that.
Yes, yeah.
Because I know a lot of this is selling the bags to help, so we could have $325,000. Are we selling what we thought we were gonna sell? Have we sold the amount of bags that we thought we were gonna sell at this point?
That's a good question,
Help cover the budget?
Karen, and I don't know the answer. I'm not sure if we,
Well, can I just say, like, this is one of the profound misunderstandings of this program, is the point is not to sell, the point is not to sell anything.
right,
Ideally, we wouldn't be getting rid of anything. Not true. That's how the city saves money on its trash disposal.
But realistically, Gary, you're not the only.
It's a budget. But every bag that we sell, the city still loses money on that bag.
well, we have to pay both.
Right. So every bag we don't sell is a savings to the budget. It's like I said to people, if we only sold one bag, it's not as though we're gonna make that person pay $660,000, which is what the trash system is costing us right now for that bag. Now, the less bags we sell, the better it is. How much are we saving in tipping fees every
All
year?
right, so I should have mentioned that. So we talked about 10 ton per day less. Every single day we've had garbage carried. Our tonnage cost is $80 a ton. 10 times 80 is $800 a day, times 5 days a week is $4,000 a week, times the number of weeks in a year. So $4,000 a week is what we are saving when we pick up 10 ton a day less.
And we had estimated, in our budget numbers, we had estimated a 25% reduction in trash rate. Like, and what we've actually experienced is more like a 60%.
It's over 50% for sure. It's over 50% easily, yeah. So it's not the $2 cost per bag, Eric is right. It's the savings that we achieve by not having to bring that stuff 60 miles north to the point.
So, from the sounds of it then, and you don't know how many bags we sold, but given the trash disposal piece of this, are we basically saying that now that we may be looking at this at the end of the fiscal year, saying not only did we not raise taxes, but we ended up with surplus?
Yeah, way too early, I think, to say that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned we're not gonna hit our 325 estimate at this point, but
But we're coming up with
the
some of that
savings.
money on trash disposal, so.
Yes, that would be a bigger savings.
I mean, we estimated that we would save, I think it was $120,000 in tipping fees was the estimate, and right now we're on pace to save over $200,000.
Yeah, I think you're right on that.
like to agree though with Heather's sentiment about the recycling, that if there's a possibility that we could revisit that at some point. I know it's probably a little early to do that, but revisit that contract
Well,
and add.
To be clear, that was exactly what the committee wanted. It's that the hauler, they're a small business and they have contracts in other towns. And so at this time, they're not able to do every other week. They're able to do twice a month because of their schedule. Yeah, so we're hoping that in year 2, that can be changed, but, you know, the reality is we're gonna have to get through this first year, where they're doing twice a month as opposed to every week.
And is there anything that can be done about December?
Well, Mayor, actually, that's what I was gonna ask, is in November, that first week, the week of November, if you actually look at the way it's scheduled, Thanksgiving is the third week of November, which should be the pickup. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are gonna get their recycling picked up. Thursday and Friday, like Thursdays gets moved over to Wednesday, our garbage don't get moved over to Monday. So meaning, I don't think that's fair that, the first 3 days are gonna get picked up, and we have to hold hours for another 3 weeks. That's what I'm wondering, is how that's gonna address.
It'll work the same way as the garbage does, and we do double pickups. So we'll do a double pickup on Wednesday.
So it's like recycling.
I think recycle will be the same way.
So the recycling, we can put up Monday and they will come pick it up.
I believe so, I'm gonna have to check that, but recycling pickup mirrors the garbage pickup, and on those weeks where there's a holiday, we have double pickups.
And same thing, yeah,
The day before.
Friday's
And I
Monday.
think we have to
It would be picked up.
It would be picked up, probably Friday would be picked up the following Monday, and Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, would be picked up Wednesday.
So whatever our trash day will be, be Monday, put it out.
I'm pretty sure. I wish Mark were here to confirm it, but.
Is there a way we can find out?
Oh, yes, we'll make sure. We need to do some advanced publicity before then. Oh, actually, thank you for bringing that
I'd just like to
I
echo.
have one more question.
up. Okay, let me answer that, Ron.
Could you, I'm assuming that there's less time that people are involved in garbage pickup?
Well, that's been a big thing too, because usually we finish our routes around 2:30, 2:30, and now it's 11:30.
So are those people reassigned to do other public works kind of things?
Yes, that's been a big help, especially this time of year where we have leaf pickup and everything else. So those extra 2 or 3 hours with 3 people, because it's 3 people who are involved in the garbage pickup, those 3 people doing the other thing.
And how many people have been cut over the years out of the public works program?
In 2003, 2004, we lost 7 people all at once, right in that 1 year. 7 people out of public works.
Okay, good. Thank you.
I'd like to actually echo Anna Boucher's comments. I think that it would be a great idea for us to consider that once every other week recycling pickup, and that would probably help resolve a lot of that trash that has been around in the confusion about the dates. So I think that's a really good idea, and I hope that we can get that as an opportunity for this one.
Well, it will be on the agenda after this year's contract, because everybody wants, actually, it would be nice to do it every week.
Yeah. Depending on the cost.
Any other questions?
Mayor, if I may, I just want to let the public know that absentee ballots are available in the city clerk's office. We're conducting in-person absentee voting, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. Voters can call our office and request a ballot emailed to them as well.
Okay, good. And I want to thank you. Our city clerk is the one who has instituted an annual report for the city for the last 2 years.
With Amanda's help, a lot of help by Amanda.
With Amanda's help. Thank her too. These are available in the city hall.
And I think there's some out back, right?
I had a few, but they're also available online as well.
And it's a really good description of what actually is happening in the city, what your tax dollars go for, and I would encourage you all to thank you so much for bringing that to the city. I don't think that it has been done for many years prior.
10-year hiatus.
Great.
Just a quick question about the annual report. Was there any thought of doing births and deaths in that annual report?
We can give numbers like quantity of residents
I'm very sorry, I got about 3 hours sleep last night because I got home very, very, very late. Yes, yes, you may. Yeah, come right up.
I just want to say a big thanks to Matt and his crew for the trail by Head Falls, for clearing it out and getting it ready for the hay rides for Harvest Fest this year. Thank you.
Great, you're welcome. Go ahead.
Your harvest fest was very, well attended. Thank you all. Everybody involved. All right, anybody else? Great. Let's see, how about a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
Move to adopt.
Second.
All those in favor?
Madam Chair, request the minutes be removed from the consent agenda.
Request the minutes be,
Yeah, removed from the consent agenda.
okay, are you making that as a motion?
I just need to do it.
Okay.
Second.
For what reason? They need to be amended.
You want to say
Just be
what you're
specific.
amending?
You guys want to vote on the rest of the consent agenda and then
We already
do the
voted
minutes.
on it. Oh, I'm sorry. All those in favor?
what are we running?
Okay, you're voting on the consent agenda.
Consent agenda, which doesn't actually have any questions, you just covered it.
You're voting on the consent agenda without the minutes.
Without the
Without the
And
minutes.
you'll vote on those separately afterward.
You're gonna amend the minutes.
Correct.
Yes.
Don't
And then
we need to vote on his motion to remove the minutes?
No.
No, you actually don't. If you have several things grouped together on the request of a single counselor, one or more items would automatically be separated out, because typically matters are done one by one, and when they're aggregated, it just takes a single counselor to have one removed, which is exactly what you did.
So we're gonna vote on the consent agenda and then amend the minutes. Okay, minus the minutes. So, all those in favor? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to amend the minutes.
Yes, I'd like to move to amend the minutes under resolution 131-2014. I'd like to strike the vote of all in favor, 6-0, and replace with councilors voting yes, Stubbert, Winslow, Thomas, Boucher, no, Lahovich, O'Donnell, absent, Rancourt, Thomas, vote 4-2, resolution passes.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor? Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for closely reading the minutes. Oh, now we have to, we're done, right?
Oh yeah, move the minutes as amended.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay. Order 130-2014.
Read by title only.
Second.
All those in favor?
An order providing for donation, transfer of city property, 11 Clark Street, Waterville, Maine.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor?
Move to take the third reading by title only.
Second.
All those in favor?
An order providing for donation, transfer of city property, 11 Clark Street, Waterville, Maine.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Counselor Stubbert,
Yes.
Counselor Lahovich,
Yes.
Counselor Winslow,
Yes.
Counselor Thomas,
Yes.
Counselor O'Donnell,
Yes.
Counselor Boucher,
Yes.
Counselor Rancourt Thomas,
Yes.
voted 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Order 134-2014.
Read by title only.
Second.
All those in favor?
An order providing for authorizing a regular and special municipal election to be held on November 4, 2014.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any questions? Why is it a special election?
Well, some of those seats weren't normally up this year, but there were vacancies in warden and ward clerk seats, so that requires a special election.
All those in favor?
Move to take the third reading by title only.
Second.
All those in favor?
An order providing for authorizing a regular and special municipal election to be held on November 4, 2014.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any questions? Counselor Lahovich, do you want to draw attention to the fact that the
I certainly love to do that. Last year, I was the co-chair of the Charter Commission, which was tasked with the amending of the city charter. We made some small changes, nothing very dramatic, except I think maybe how we appoint city councilors. But that gets a little wonky. But I would hope that everybody comes out to vote, mostly because a year ago when we had this vote, it passed with 80% of the vote, but not enough people turned out to vote, so by state law, the charter failed. So I'm hoping that we can get 80% of the vote again this time, because I think that we made some really good changes, and I'd like to see us continue with this charter for another 7 years.
It was in June, not last year. Not enough people voted in
Correct.
November.
Off your election, I spent most of my day running around the city trying to get people
There's
to
one
vote.
more person to vote.
Yeah.
Okay, could you call the roll?
Yes. Counselor Stubbard,
Yes.
Counselor Mahovich,
Yes.
Counselor Winslow,
Yes.
Counselor Thomas,
Yes.
Counselor O'Donnell,
Yes.
Counselor Boucher,
Yes.
Counselor Raincourt Thomas,
Yes.
with 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Thank you. Under new business, resolution 137-2014.
Move to read by title only.
Second.
Point of order. I'm not sure that's the right thing to say, but this should be read.
Okay,
This should be read aloud.
all right, so do you want to withdraw your,
No,
or
it
just
didn't happen.
vote it down?
Oh,
It didn't,
right, no,
we didn't
it's
All
vote.
you have to do is ask.
Okay, good, thank you.
Okay. A resolution providing for demolition of a building at 26 Gold Street. Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Waterville, acting as municipal officers as follows. After a hearing on October 7, 2014, pursuant to 17 MRSA Section 2851, the City Council makes the following findings of fact regarding the real property located at 26 Gold Street, Waterville, Maine, more particularly described in a conveyance from Lakeside Portfolio Management LLC to American Homeowner Preservation LLC, dated May 5, 2014, and recorded in the Kennebec County Registry of Deeds in book 11,702, page 49. Number 1, American Homeowner Preservation LLC was personally served with the notice of hearing attached on September 19, 2014, but failed to attend the hearing. Number 2, based on the photographic evidence and testimony provided by Code Enforcement Officer Garth Collins, the following is established. A, the property has been empty since July 30, 2013. B, on June 6, 2014, a fire started in the building, causing extensive damage to the interior, which damage has not been repaired. C, the heating, plumbing, and electrical systems are not up to code. D, most of the windows have been broken by vandals. E, the exterior stairways and porches are structurally unsafe and in danger of collapse if someone were to walk on them. F, the condition of the building has deteriorated to the extent that repair of it is not financially practicable. Based on the foregoing findings of fact, the council concludes that the building at 26 Gold Street is dangerous and a nuisance within the meaning of 17 MRSA Section 2851, in that it is structurally unsafe, constitutes a fire hazard, and is unsuitable for occupancy and is a hazard to health and safety because of inadequate maintenance and abandonment. Wherefore, it is hereby ordered that American Homeowner Preservation LLC shall, number 1, within 30 days, cause the building to be demolished, the debris to be removed and properly disposed of, and the cellar hole to be filled to grade, all to the satisfaction of the code enforcement officer. Number 2, if American Homeowners Preservation LLC fail to comply with this order, the city shall cause the building to be removed in compliance with this order. Number 3, all expenses incurred in removal shall be repaid to the municipality within 30 days of demand, or a special tax will be assessed against the land for the amount of the expenses, and such amount shall be included in the next annual warrant, and shall be collected in the same manner as other municipal real property taxes.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Questions? All those in favor? Good, thank you. Order 138-2014.
A an order providing for amendment to order number 156-2012. Be it hereby ordered by the City Council of the City of Waterville, acting as municipal officers as follows. That the conditions listed on the attached order number 156-2012 be amended to allow the Friends of Quarry Road to pay $75,000 to the city, with the remaining $25,000 to be dedicated to various infrastructure improvements at the Quarry Road recreation area. This work will be completed with the Friends of Quarry Road to the satisfaction of the city's Parks and Recreation Director in the approximate amount of $25,000, and will involve improvements to the access road, creation of additional parking, and other necessary improvements.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Is there a discussion?
I have a little bit of a problem with this.
What?
Well, the way I see it, if somebody borrows $100,000 from you, then you should pay back $100,000, not ask if they can do something else with the other 25. I kind of think we're cash strapped as it is, and I'm kind of curious as to why we're not getting paid back before the organization's coming to ask us for more money.
I'd like to start with an introductory answer to that question, and I know that Rick Tond is here too, so we can address that. You're right, the money was lent to Quarry Road, Friends of Quarry Road, for work done there, with a promise to pay it all back. They paid $75,000 back. My support of the motion to allow 25 to be spent on the road and other things is with the understanding and the belief that a lot of value has been installed on city property as a result of expenses that they've had, things that they've purchased, grant money that they've obtained, a huge amount of grant money they've obtained, and value in very concrete improvements to our site. So the value of our property's been increased by, I think, by way more than $25,000, just with all the things that have happened there. So that's just my opinion on it.
As you know, I'm on the board of the Friends of Quarry Road. And there's no question they've done a tremendous amount of work up there. There's no question they've added value to the city. But that's not the point here. I have told members of their board that I don't think this is a way to do business. If you need money fronted for a project, and this was fronted for the maintenance building, and you don't plan to pay the whole thing back, you should say that initially when you borrow the money. And as I told the board, this may very well pass, and you may be off the hook for the $25,000, but what's going to happen the next time you want to borrow money from the city? And I think they need to consider that. It's been discussed, and apparently that the position hasn't changed any. But I don't think this is a good way to do business, despite the wonderful things they've done up there. There's no question about that.
I have to concur with Fred and the council of boards. I know if I have to go along, I have to go along. I'm not gonna go do something different. I have money in it. So I just am in agreement with the council of boards. And they have done a great job with it. It's a beautiful place.
Okay. Honestly, I'm shocked, but not surprised. Go ahead.
Well, I guess, I don't know, Rick, if you want to come up, but this isn't at all my proposal, I just want folks to understand, I definitely want you to consider it, I'm not, I can see advantages and disadvantages, but if there's any, I think I can speak for the entire board, if there's any, if the discussion, if this is the way the discussion's going, we'll just pull it back, it's not worth, I think at the end of May, we'd be hoping to be prepared, so we would be looking for an extension on the loan. But we didn't want it to go this way, because we don't, it's not worth digging in and putting $25,000. So that's my personal view.
I guess my feeling is, we're talked a lot about not being business friendly in Waterville. And help them do what's best for the city. And, so I think we need to think about it a little bit differently, and think about it as, we're coming at this as good business people and wanting good business in the city, and, being supportive of that.
Mayor, may I speak? First of all, thanks everybody for doing what you're doing, because somebody has to do this, and Karen does it, and you all do it, so it's part of how it works, it's a good thing. This particular idea was mine, and as I always tell my children, not all my ideas are great. Okay? But I did think of this on the way to a board meeting the other night, and shared it, and we just said, okay, let's pose it to the city. The work at Quarry Road, and you know, I'm not a resident of Waterville. I grew up in Waterville, but many of the board members are not residents of Waterville. Nonetheless, the board has invested, you know, of their own money, some $60,000 in this project, their own money. Okay? And they've worked that in addition to a lot of work. So this idea came much simpler. It was much simpler. We've recently gone back to the Alpine Foundation, and they've reinvested in us. They invested almost $500,000 initially in this project. They've come back with another $485,000 that you know, we have to raise, and we have a matching part of it is $200,000, and we'll raise that money by the time we get to the end of May. So we're gonna, you know, we'll have your money if you want the cash. In the money that we asked the Alpine Foundation for, there was some $65,000 that we asked them for to improve the road, your road. And that's where this idea came from, is that this is money we're putting directly into the city's road, okay? Granted, it is at, you know, it is at Quarry Road and all that. So it's just an ask. If there's a pushback and you don't like it, if, you know, Fred explained this and we didn't say, oh, the hell with him, you know. This is it's a valid point, and we aren't trying to create waves with the city. We're just trying to be business people, and I'm looking at the budget and I'm saying, hey, look, we're gonna spend money on this road. It's your road, and we'd like to trade the $25,000 in cash for at least $25,000 that is already allocated towards the road. In fact, 60-odd is allocated towards the road and the things we're talking about. And we're gonna spend that one way or the other. The Alpine Foundation is okay with this. So whatever you wanna do, it's just an ask. It's a important year for us. We need to raise the $200,000 to get the balance of the money, and we need to have a really successful year making snow and bringing a lot more people to Waterville. And so we just thought we would ask. It's not in any way to be, you know, unbusinesslike or not fulfill our obligation. We will be happy to write you the check if you give us a little extension, you know, maybe to the end of May. Thank you.
So Matt, would you rather table it, or would you rather proceed going to vote? I mean, you're the one who said you may not want to proceed if it's gonna be a...
I guess probably to table it then, yeah, if you're asking.
Move to postpone indefinitely.
Second.
All those in favor? I just want to say that I think that Quarry Road is an amazing asset to this town. And I'm really disappointed that some members of the council refuse to understand that you have to invest once in a while to actually bring people to the town. And that place brings hundreds of people into the town. They buy things downtown, they visit us for the first time, they come back and they're not asking for you to forgive the loan, they're gonna invest it into something that we also should be doing. So I just wanna say, I'm really disappointed.
Mayor,
Yes,
let me rebut what you just said.
go right ahead.
You clearly not listening to what was said.
I listen.
What was said was that the next time they ask for money, they may have a problem getting it. So
They may, but they may not. If there was another council, they may not.
you could read tea leaves and But in the future, maybe you could say that.
I would not ask them to wait for another council or another council vote. They may never need it, but they're offering to do it right now. So I think that, yes, we could have done that. Okay, so then, on to the next thing. Resolution 139-2014.
A resolution providing for reference to the planning board by the city council and amendment to the zoning map. Be it resolved by the city council of the city of Waterville, acting as municipal officers as follows. To refer to the planning board for public hearing and recommendation, a proposal for rezoning in accordance with Article 7, Section 7.1 of the zoning ordinance. Center Point Community Church is requesting rezoning for assessor parcel 26-10 from contract zone district commercial B to industrial in order to convert the existing bowling alley to a church. That parcel is located at 155 West River Road and is found on the property map of the city of Waterville dated April 1, 1992, as updated on April 1, 2014.
Excuse me, Mayor, that's institutional, not industrial.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry, did I read it wrong?
yes.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so you're all right with moving that with industrial, institutional?
Yes.
Did it get seconded?
Second. This is just to refer to the planning board for discussion.
Correct.
They'll have the final say on this, right?
Right.
Have they actually bought the property?
Is there somebody here from the, it's my understanding it's under contract.
Pending what happened with the zoning?
Will this take us off the
Tax roll.
tax roll?
Are there any taxable properties left in town? Is that mine?
I heard today that Bangor's got 51% of its land in tax exempt, and so it could be worth. All right, so any other questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Okay. So resolution.
The agenda item
I'm
passed. I want to go, I just want to say one thing and make it real clear. The Sustained Mid-Maine Coalition Education Committee has set me up to give a talk on the health and safety issues associated with wood burning at the Waterville Library, October 21st, 5:30 to 6:30. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, so resolution 140-2014.
A resolution providing for reference to the planning board by the city council and amendment to the zoning map. Be it resolved by the city council of the city of Waterville, acting as municipal officers as follows. To refer to the planning board for public hearing and recommendation a proposal for rezoning in accordance with Article 7, Section 7.1 of the zoning ordinance. Retlou Investment LLC is requesting rezoning for assessor parcel 62-9 from commercial C to general industrial in order to lease the building for industrial use. That parcel is located at 20 Industrial Road and is found on the property map of the city of Waterville dated April 1st, 1992, as updated on April 1st, 2014.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Discussion.
My name is Charlie Craig. I work for the Dunham Group, and we represent Retlou, which is the entity that owns the property. This is the former Kai's Fiber Hudamonk industrial building. I was up here, I believe, in 2007, asking for the zoning to go to commercial, because at that point, we were going to redevelop the property for retail, which is what's in front of it. And so it's been an industrial zone. It had been since the building was constructed, I guess, in the 60s initially. There's not a demand for the property for retail anymore. We do have interest from actually a good-sized tenant leasing the building that's going to bring some jobs to Waterville. And they need the general industrial zone. So that's the background.
Okay, great. So the council's voting on referring this to the planning board.
Can you give us any more information about the use of the building?
Yeah, it's a company that's going to be actually processing a rubber-based product in the building. It's all going to be processed within the building. It's permitted within the general industrial zone. And they'll be hiring probably, or bringing anywhere from probably 10 to 20 jobs to Waterville. And they'll be occupying more than half the building.
Thank you.
Your patience, they're even waiting for quite a while.
Entertainment.
Entertainment. All those in favor? Resolution 141-2014.
A resolution providing for authorization to hire a traffic consultant. Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Waterville acting as municipal officers as follows. That the firm of Quarry Road be hired to conduct a traffic pedestrian study of the Spring Street intersection for the price of $41,850, and that the city manager be authorized to sign a contract for this project pending review and approval by the city solicitor. Funding for this project will be shared equally by the Maine Department of Transportation and the city. The city's contribution will come from the Hathaway tip account as required by order number 106-2014.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Yes, Mike.
This is in regards to the project to look at the Spring Street intersection in terms of hopefully being able to improve pedestrian safety. And as you remember, we received a grant from the State Department of Transportation for $25,000. The city has its own $25,000 in a tip account that we use to match that. It doesn't look like we'll need all of that because the contract amount at this point is $41,850. But I'd like to ask the council to consider an amendment to increase that amount. And I know Mr. Stubbert has that language for the amendment. Increase, which would allow us to spend our share of the 25 if there are reasons during the study for us to do some additional work in and around the traffic safety issues, possibility of looking at two-way traffic on Main Street, that question also. So we have $25,000 in the TIF account. We're only going to spend $20,000, almost 21, as a result of this contract. So we've got another $4,000 that we could, if the council decides. So that's why I was suggesting we amend it to increase the amount to, I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of you, but I know you have it. So I'll let council decide. But if there are questions in the meantime.
Mike, what's the difference between this study and, there's been previous studies, right? There's been one in 2009.
The one done in 2009 was just really a simple look at the geometry of the intersection and try to figure out or try to identify options for pedestrian travel back and forth through that intersection, over the intersection, under the intersection, around, changing some of the slip lanes that are in there. So there's 4 major options identified at that time. And I think this study will pick up at that point and go further in the looking at costs.
So the last study didn't really get into like traffic counts.
No,
No.
no, it was simply a geometry analysis kind of thing of the way those 5 roads come in. Main Street, Water Street, Spring Street, Front Street, Bridge Street, going also, all 5. It's a complicated intersection.
Did you say GP and PD stand?
Go Palmer, Consulting Engineers.
I didn't talk about, and who's the PD? On the top of this minutes.
Oh, so the yellow page that I handed out is the schedule. And I wanted you to look at that, just to look at the end date. Very, very quick turnaround. December. So you're going to look at that busy intersection, and by the end of December, come back to you and say, here are the options for increasing pedestrian traffic through the intersection and what they will cost. Option A, B, C, what each one will cost. That's a pretty aggressive schedule, 2 months, 2.5 months.
What does the PB, the top of that?
It's the Project Development Committee, it's our own
Oh,
committee.
all right, thank you.
So we gathered a group, and that brings up the committee that we've put together. This is Councilor Boucher's board, so she's agreed to serve on it. And of course, we have our public works people, Paul Bogosian, Jen Olson, who's, is still here, from Waterville Main Street, Scott Workman, representing the Bicycle Pedestrian Coalition. Chief Massey will be part of that group because obviously law enforcement has some concerns about traffic stops and how things work in the intersection. So and then some city staff, Greg Brown, especially the city.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't this also something we agreed to when the Hathaway project began?
When we sold the building to Paul Bogosian, there was a condition in the sale of the building that the city do everything it could to investigate options and pursue funding sources for increasing pedestrian traffic. So you're right. And thank you. Probably should have started with that explanation, that this is part of our commitment in that transfer and that sale.
And that was explicitly what some of the TIF funds were set aside for.
That's right.
And the TIF fund was, created to help with this. It will not be easy. There's no magic bullet that will suddenly make everything safe for pedestrians going through that busy intersection. We'll have some options, but they won't be perfect, and it will cost something.
Just a quick question, as you were talking about pedestrians and safety pieces and so forth, and I had this vision as I'm going through the downtown portion of City of Bangor. They have exactly what we were picking up, a couple of those flashing signs to reduce the flow of traffic going down Main Street so that you can cross over towards Sela T. The other one, we were also looking at doing it in front of the Morning Sentinel building, which is difficult to get across there.
We're
So
going to have 2 installed.
So
One
are
at-
they coming?
Yep, one at Salem T,
Okay.
and the other is at the Union Street? No. What am I saying?
Temple in
Where
front,
is the second one?
Temple in front, we're looking about.
Front Street.
Yeah, Temple in front was our wish for. But the challenge there is the vehicular sight line, so we're still trying to figure that out.
So these are,
Because when you're looking at the flow of traffic, and that's one of the things that I've enjoyed about the city of Bangor, they put them up and they work.
Right.
You press it, everyone stops.
these are flashing beacons that are mounted on an upright pole,
Correct.
and they're at the crosswalk. So as you're driving down the road, you're going to see that flashing light right at the crosswalk. So hopefully people say, oh, that's a crosswalk. Maybe I should slow down.
At Dustin and from 2 on Western Avenue.
Oh, okay.
Makes a difference.
Now, the other thing that we've looked at, and I don't know if Jen knows anything more, but we're hoping that we have some grant money through Waterville Main Street to purchase a sign that would be on Main Street. I know that Chief Massey's familiar with this because he's seen them in other places. And that sign would say, you are now traveling at
Yes.
Your speed.
Good.
speed, and the speed limit is.
Mm.
So, there's still a chance for that?
Yes.
Still a chance.
On Front Street or on Main?
It's a portable, well, it's a portable.
It's portable.
It's a portable, one of those portable, lighted signs that says, this is your speed and this is the speed limit. So they could be everywhere. It could be stationed at downtown for certain times and then in other places that are of high volume.
Is the speed limit on Front Street the same as it is on Main Street?
Speed?
Speed limit, they both 25?
30 miles an hour.
30 on Front Street. 30 on Front Street.
Little, 5 miles an hour faster front. That's where I got one of my 2 speeding tickets. Not when I was working for the city. All right, other questions about traffic consulting report, study?
Yeah, I have a question and a comment. I'm Richard Grenier from Ward 4, and my comment is I've worked at the Hathaway Center for 2 weeks now, and I've had no problems crossing that street. And you press the button, wait for the light to change, and then you go across. So I really don't see what improvements could be made or what would be needed. But my question is, I believe the study is not going to work in conjunction with the study on the two-way traffic.
Yes, it is.
It is? Okay, because I thought I read in the Sentinel that it wasn't.
Well, it will look at how the intersection would have to change if there was two-way traffic. But the study will not look at the rest of Main Street for two-way traffic.
Right.
It will not look up the
But it will
street.
take into consideration if we move to two-way.
Two-way traffic, what would happen with the signals.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We have an amendment. I can't read my writing, so my sister will read it.
I can read it.
We just need to change the dollar amount, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Just change the law one.
Move to strike $41,850 and replace with $45,925. Do I do a second?
Second. What was the amount again?
$45,925.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor of amending the order?
The resolution is amended.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay, good.
A resolution providing for transfer of funds for capital projects. Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Waterville acting as municipal officers as follows. That the city hereby moves $71,530 from the waterfront project and $20,000 from the downtown revitalization project to the capital reserve fund. Be it further resolved that the city transfer $25,000 from the capital reserve fund to the fire department equipment project in the capital fund, cover the balance left in the fire truck repair account from fiscal year 2011. These transfers would be done as of the end of fiscal year 2014 for audit purposes and are further explained on the attached memo.
Move to adopt.
Second.
So we've had these funds hanging out there in accounts that have long since closed. And the auditors for the last year or so have told us you should move those unspent monies back to another fund. And actually, we need to cover an amount that was overspent when the fire truck was repaired back 3 or 4 years, well, it says I think 2011, 3 years ago. So that's why we're asking for these transfers, is really to clean up our books. And I would like to ask the council to consider an amendment, because in the second paragraph where it talks about the capital reserve fund, it really should be capital improvement reserve fund.
Need to amend that, though?
I'm sorry?
Does that need an amendment?
No, it could be a scrivener's error. I mean, we only have one capital reserve in the fund, and the proper name is capital improvement reserve.
I'm good with that.
There's only one.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Thanks.
Resolution 143-2014.
Move to read by title only.
Second.
All those in favor?
Authorizing the renewal of liquor licenses for the fourth quarter.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Questions?
I have a question. It doesn't necessarily deal with this, but it in a sense does. There was an agreement a while back about downtown businesses putting money into a fund to help pay for destruction of property because of some of the activity that happens when the bars close. Do we have any update on that? I've gotten a couple
give you a little history on it. A couple of years ago, when we had a real rash of vandalism downtown, and there was a lot of complaints about, from businesses saying that their buildings or other property were vandalized, and it was mostly done by patrons coming out of the bars. All the bar owners got together to discuss how we could handle some of those issues, how they could better watch out for intoxicated patrons and cut them off early and those types of things there. But they also agreed to put money into a fund, and that was to be facilitated by Mr. Carter, Governor Carter. And if you were a business owner and you had some damage done to your building and you had a deductible on your insurance of $200, $500, you could go to that fund and try to reclaim your deductible on it. We have no control over it, so I don't know the end result, whether it was, I think it was established, because I think one business was successful in getting the deductible back. Where it stands today, who's facilitating it, what the balance is, those types of things, I don't know.
Can we ask? Can the city not ask? Because I called that meeting, and it was a city meeting, they all came, they all agreed, so maybe we could ask for an update, because we have some people who have had some damage.
Yeah, the frame makers went through a period of destruction, which you probably know, with windows being broken and light fixtures, and so the owners contacted me a couple of times asking if this is true, that there's money, how do businesses go, and if it was agreed on by, and I could see that a couple of the downtown bars are on this list, and if that was an agreement, I think that's something that the city should take up. And I know that's not, that you would take it up, but.
Right. I believe at that time, one of the questions was, how are we going to get that information out to all the businesses? How are the business going to know that these funds exist? And I think at that time, the downtown business had agreed to put it out on their network so that all the businesses could receive it. So, again, just where that fund stands today, I have no idea.
Yeah, it's not city controlled account.
It's not a city-controlled account, but you're approving the bars from downtown who are agreeing to be,
Well, there just needs to be some follow-up. I mean, I was in the initial meeting, Eliza and Jim and Mike and some of the bar owners, and so there just needs to be some follow-up. Probably with council from downtown, I'd be happy to, I guess technically I probably should email them that because of my relationship to neighbors.
Is there a way that we could table this until we get that question answered?
Is there a time-sensitive nature to this?
This is time sensitive for the third quarter, the fourth quarter, which starts now. So those are pending based on this. I don't know that a private agreement, would have any bearing on whether or not you could deny their liquor license application. So it's somewhat of a moot point. I think that's almost like a private issue that's somewhat related but not necessarily relevant to the approval process.
So their licenses weren't agreed on based on this?
Right.
It was just a separate.
There was no formal agreement. This was simply an offer by the business community to kind of help resolve that issue of vandalism and minimize the cost to some of the businesses. Strictly voluntary on their part and a goodwill gesture to put that money together and have it available.
Can I say something? Can I say something? Again, I'm Jennifer Olson from Waterville Main Street, and I'm happy to see if there's someone that I can support and facilitate this, because I think that the fund was established as a gesture of goodwill by the business owners for their fellow business owners, and so I think it's an important thing that we should take up, and rather than penalize the current business owners, I think that we should just follow up with it, and I'm happy to do whatever I need to do to help that happen.
And it might make sense in the future possibly for those funds to live with Main Street rather than.
Right, I feel like that, that would be something to take up with the folks who established it. I think that that's
that's certainly a safe place to do it, and some kind of procedure to make sure that the process happens in a timely way for businesses like the frame makers who are really trying hard to be good
Right,
community
and I
members
don't
too.
think it necessarily should just be, I think all the businesses need to get together probably and have a discussion about some of the activities, and especially because we have some really great businesses in downtown that are doing a lot to fix up their business, and they're getting penalized in this process as well, so that would probably be great, thank you.
We're also trying really hard to brand ourselves as a nightlife and entertainment destination, and we want to ensure safety around that too. And I think that the gesture by the businesses was really intended to do that, because they want to be good citizens.
Let us know how it goes.
Right on, if Jim Carlson wants to get in touch with me, as I'm sure some of you know, my father was studying harder, and you have a hard time reaching him, feel free to give me a shout, and I'll make sure you two connect.
Thank you.
Okay, so, moved and seconded. All those in favor? Resolution 144-2014.
A resolution providing for establishing hours for voter registration. Whereas Title 21A MRSA Section 122.8 requires special evening hours for voter registration on 3 out of the 5 business days before an election, unless municipal officers establish different hours, and be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Waterville, acting as municipal officers as follows, that the City Council hereby establish voter registration hours to be Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., with special evening hours to be held on Tuesday, October 28th, from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor? Order 145-2014.
An order providing for authorization to purchase a laser training system. Be it hereby ordered by the City Council of the City of Waterville, acting as municipal officers as follows. That the City Council hereby authorizes the purchase of a laser shot firearms training system for $20,000 and agrees to accept a $10,000 MMA safety training grant, with the remaining $10,000 coming from a $21,000 reimbursement from the MMA Property Casualty and Workers' Compensation Program. The attached memo describes in greater detail the importance of this firearm training program.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any questions for the chief?
So Chief, the entire cost of the program is actually coming out of Maine Municipal?
Yes. Yeah. Just a wonderful opportunity to buy computer-based use of force training simulator. And as the memo says, it lowers our training costs, it gives us 24-hour access, it's not weather dependent, and allows for training scenarios and skill building that's not readily available on the range. One of the issues we're starting to face with using the current range that we use, which is based in Winslow, and it's owned by the Winslow Police Association, is that we may start to become more and more restricted in our ability to use it. There's been some pushback by some of the residents that live in that surrounding area to reduce the number of times that range is used during the year because of the loud gunshot noises and quality of life issues that they say are being disturbed up there. So we were notified that. So my concern is that somewhere down the road, they're going to tell us we're going to be very, very limited in its use, so that we may not be able to use it whatsoever. In addition to us using it, all around surrounding communities also use the Winslow Range, and at one time the Academy was using it for their academy training, the 18-week basic police school. So there was, just thousands and thousands and thousands of rounds that would be fired up there. So again, when that happens, we will be looking for a new place to qualify for our firearms. What this does is it allows us to do a lot of training that doesn't require the range. So it saves in travel, it saves in overtime. Instead of using live ammunition and making all that noise, we're in a classroom setting in a building with a software program. And we can do skill building, we can do decision-making scenarios, and it just goes on and on and on. And it has the capability of capturing all that data and recording it for our records management of folks who go through firearms training. What's nice about this system is it has been court tested for failure to train, and it's stood the test of a court challenge.
where a police department was charged with failure to train their folks, and they brought the records from the simulator to show this is part of our training in conjunction with live fire, and they were successful in that. So it's really a win-win situation. It really reduces our cost in overtime, our cost in training, and will make a big difference where officers are having 24-hour access to it, so that at the end of their shift, they don't have to worry if it's 6 o'clock in the morning if they get off, that they can't go out there and shoot at 6 in the morning to wake folks up. They can go in and actually do some skill building or basic training on the simulator.
All those in favor?
Thank you.
Order 146-2014.
Nobody, huh?
Agreed by Testimony.
Yeah.
Second.
All those in favor?
Thank you. An order providing for approval of forfeiture.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor? Ordinance 147-2014.
An ordinance providing for amendments to personnel ordinance being enacted by the City Council of the City of Waterville, acting as municipal officers as follows. That these amendments covers the change in health coverage for city employees and also a revision to the existing tobacco policy attached to the ordinance as Appendix D.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any questions?
These changes basically involve 3 sections. The biggest, of course, is the health insurance. So the city is asking all of its employees to go to a different plan, a less expensive plan for the city, and hopefully less expensive for the employees too. So that's the first change. And on the memo, you can see the 3 changes outlined. The second regards bereavement leave. And the third change is in the appendix regarding tobacco, because our policy really was not in compliance with state law. So as Bobby, our Human Resources Director, explained today at our staff meeting, we were out of compliance with our policy in terms of state law. We'd be in compliance now. We've gone a little bit further probably in the strictness of it, but not as far as some communities have gone. So I think we're probably somewhere in the middle in terms of restrictions on tobacco use.
This being Domestic Violence Awareness Week for month, I'm asking, are you still doing that training that used to happen for new employees?
They received the policy and they,
There was an online training through the Department of Labor that used to happen.
I don't know, I'm not sure, but I will check. Yeah.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Thank you.
Do your managers report?
How about a quick manager's report? All right, well, we've already covered item 1, recycling, solid waste recycling. Item 2, we talked about the airport runway project has been delayed till 2016 due to the federal government's inability to give us a timely response on the grant. However,
Why 2 years? Why not simply next year?
oh, did I say 2016?
Next.
15, sorry. 15. Just see if they're paying. 2015, the work will happen on the airport runway. However, in 2014, the work at the lagoons, the wind-up lagoons on Waterville Road will be done. It's 90% complete now. Councilor Stubbs and I were there last week, and it's really quite a project, and it's a big, big improvement, because it's city-owned property. Of course, the lagoons were not our responsibility. Had to form a wind-up mill. The state came in through a DEP grant and cleaned up lagoons, so we'll have quite a bit of property there that will not be restricted in any way. Item 4, the sewer district completing their rate study. Remember, this was a topic, big topic, a few months ago. Why are they charging this this and that, and how do we know? And so, as we asked them to do, they've done the rate study. They're gonna make it available to us this month before it goes up for final review. So we're gonna ask them to come in and present that in a meeting prior to when it gets to this level, just so we can have a look and identify things. I know certainly you want to be involved, and you were very much involved back then also, Councilor Thomas. I assume you want to be involved again. We have a pre-meeting. I don't know if that's something.
Sewer.
You can leave it to them.
The dirty job.
Item 5, the Central Maine Growth Council is in work, still in process. The Growth Council Executive Committee met yesterday, put together a proposal for a different arrangement, and that's being written up, and I'll get it to people that are especially concerned about economic development very soon, so we can read about it. Because our executive director at the Growth Council left a month or so ago, and now the question is, how do we proceed? I didn't know it myself until the other day, but the property reval people are out in the field. So there's one in Ward 6, 7, and one in Ward 1. They're out measuring properties and contacting homeowners. Every single property will be visited, photographed. So they are out. They started last week, and they're in Ward 1 and Ward 6 and 7. South End and West River Road.
Is that on the website and the Facebook page? Because we were gonna, if you don't know it, people might not know it.
Yeah, it should have been, and it was not, but it will be tomorrow. Or Amanda actually may have put it up at the end of the day.
How would you know?
She
I'm
told
not
me.
on Facebook much.
She told me.
Okay.
Just an item of advance warning, your next meeting, so if people are concerned about what the city is proposing for bond items for next year, that discussion will start at your next council meeting on the 21st. What items should we bond for, should we borrow money for? We've talked about the airport runway, of course, road improvements, and other items, so that discussion starts next time, so just a heads up. And the last thing you mentioned, and I agree with you, the annual report Patty and Amanda did was really very nice. So I encourage people to look at it. If there are not any questions for me, I'll sit down.
What's number 9?
There is none. Hey, you got my copy. There's a number 9. And it's a piece of very, very good news. It's been something a long time in process, but we received word today, which is why it was handwritten on this one, that our case with former officer Jeff Pierce has been decided by the court in summary judgment 100% in the city's favor. So that is finally over and done with in terms of litigation. It's out of the court system, and so both sides have decided to accept the court's decision that the facts are in the city's favor. And that's what the decision was about, the summary judgment. So it never got to trial. Now, I don't know if you would understand that. Summary judgment is the preponderance of the evidence is so strong.
Basically, you're arguing that the facts and the law are such before trial, there's no need for a finding of fact, there's no need for a trial.
And that's what happened just the other day, that the court found in the city's favor.